Hello. Now we are going to discuss about global and local scope. So in Python, right, global refers to the module of the package or like module of the code, right? So if you have the global variable, that variable is accessible for that modules, right? Let's say that if you have created a Python file, that is what the module is. And then if you create any variable, that variable will be global variable for the modules, for that modules. Right. So consider these examples. Like here we have defined this variable called a and the value is 10. If I run this, and in this case a is the global scope. Like a is the a variable in the global scope, right? Consider that here we have this created a function called myfunc. It takes n as an argument, right? And return c is n to the power 2. Right here in this function, C is defined inside a function, so C will be the local scope, right? And here n is also the local scope because we are taking n parameter and there is no parameter defined over there. So global variable can be accessed from inner scope, right? Like over here in the myfunc, we have this n variable which is the local. Then we are printing global A. Here we are creating C based on A. So A we have already defined, the value is 10. This A will be accessed over here, right? So here we are trying to access the global variable, right, within a functions, right? But my function was able to reference the global variable. Here we can see that, right? But again, remember, like if you have created any variable within the functions, right, even the variable with that name, that variable will be local variable for that function only. For example, over here in this function, right, we are saying a equal to 2, and then we're saying c is equal to a raised to power 2. So here a value will be created, a variable will be created, and this will be a variable, a local variable, right? So it will not impact the global variable, right? So for this function, a will be accessed to this from here, right? And now we can check that here we are trying to print the value of a, then we are executing this function, and then again we are trying to print the value of a, right? If I do so, here we can see that a was 10. After the function execution, it is still 10, right? Because this a that we had defined, this was accessible within the my function only. You can change the variable value within a function using a global keyword. Like over here we have this my func, then we're saying global a. This global keyword will define that this is a global variable, right? And if you change that value, if you change the value of a over here, right, so that change will be a local, that change will be for the global. Like over here we are saying global a, this means that we have initialized a global variable, and then we are saying a is 2. Now this 2, so earlier the value of a was 10, but now the value of global variable will become 2 now, right? Here let's see this in Excel. So first we are printing the value of a. So here the value of a will be 10 because we are not running function here. But now we have executed the function. Because you have executed the function, right? So this function will execute and it will change the value of a. And after changing the value of a, we are again trying to print the value of a. Let's see this. Here we can see that earlier it was 10, but now it is 2 because this is what we have defined over here, right? We can also create a global variable within the inner function. For that, you have to use a global keyword only, right? Like over here, we are saying define myfunc, we are saying global var, then we are saying var equal to hello world, and then we are returning n to the power 2. So if I'll execute this function, so global var will be initiated, it will be created, and the value will be hello world. Now let's try to print var. we'll see error because we have not executed my function yet. So where will not exist over here. We'll see that we are getting name error. But once we call this, execute this function, and then we can print where we'll get the hello world, right? Now again, so remember that whenever you are assigning a value to a variable, without specifying variable as a global, it will be local only, right? For example, consider that here we are initializing two variable a as 10, b as 100. Now this my func is trying to print a and the b. It will print the global variable only because by default it will be global if you try to access that variable, right? But again consider that, right? Here we are saying a as 10, b as 100, and then in the my func first we are trying to print a. So this should print the value of a from the global variable, and then we are trying to print b. This should also print the value of b, which is 100, but then we are changing the value of b as 1000. So if I try to execute this code, we'll get error because here we're saying that local variable b referenced before assignment. This means that we are trying to access the value of b, and then after that we're trying to assign the value of b, right? So it says that we have not assigned the value of b, but we are trying to print the value of a. This is what it means, right? And here b is in the line of print b, you can see that, right? And it is considered local over here because in the next line we are trying to assign the value of b, right? And because of that property, this will be considered as a local variable, and then we are getting the error over here. We can see that the value of a has been printed 100, right? We can also change the print function, like over here we have said print equal to lambda x, which takes the x value, it will say hello or whatever the value will pass. So now print is behave like this lambda function. So if you'll print here we're getting this my func. In the my func we are returning print. So if you execute this my func, we'll say that hello world, we are passing world over here, it will say hello world. So now we have changed the value of print. So how do we get back to our original print function? For that you just need to delete print, and that's it. Now you can access your original print function, like over here we'll get hello over here, right? And this is it, all about local and the global scope. Thank you very much.